Fine. I am Jasper Melody B. Castellano. Sorry for the voice quality that I have right now since I am not feeling well. But anyways, let's start to tackle about the standardized test scoring. So when we say standardized test scoring, it is a test that is administered and scored in a consistent or standard manner. So when we say standard manner, it to do something in a consistent manner or standard way. So standardized tests are designed in such a way that the questions and interpretations are consistent and are administered and scored in a predetermined and standard manner. So the questions are all the same all throughout the years. The questions will be all the same, so there will be no changes, but instead the questions, so therefore all the questions are the same, consistent, there will be no changes. And when we say predetermined, it is already established, or the result or the outcome is advanced, or the administrators, the evaluators, the indicators have already know what will be the result. So standardized tests, any test in which the same questions or the same test is given in the same manner to all test taker and graded in the same manner for everyone. So when we say standardized test, all questions are the same. Any test in which the same test is given in the same manner to all test taker and graded in the same manner for everyone. So when we say standardized test, all the questions are the same, given to all the test takers. So there will be no difference, but instead, all questions are the same, regardless of where they came from or what is the religion or anything. But the questions will be given the same to everyone, and also they will be graded in the same manner. Also, standardized tests do not need to have a high stakes test, time limited test, multiple choice test, academic test, or test given into large numbers of test takers. So it doesn't need to have a multiple choice, should be given in a limited time or whatsoever. But instead, a standardized test may be any type of a test. It could be written, it could be oral, or a practical skills performance test. So like for example, in our college admission test, we will going to take a written test. Then if you pass the written test, you will have an interview or oral test whether or not you will be given the chance to enter the university. So take note, it could be written, it could be oral, or a practical skills performance test. Standardized tests, the question can be simple or complex. So when we say complex, um, a bit or a difficult type questions, but connected to the student's performance. So the subject matter among school age students is frequently academic skills, but a standardized test can be given on nearly any topic, including driving tests, creativity, athleticism, personality, professional ethics, or other attributes. So standardized test, it could be about the natural ability of students performance. It could be about creativity, how the students think, or it could be about driving test. It could be also about professional ethics. So um, it it up it depends on the indicators whether what will be the topic of the test. So there are four characteristics of standardized tests. First is administered and scored in a predetermined and in a standard manner. So like what I've said, predetermined is already established, or the outcome of the test is already established or decided in advance. So the, it is decided in advance, and also it is consistent. So the questions are consistent. um, the graded system is consistent, so there will be no changes. Second, allows for comparison to be made among schools in regards to students' achievement, ensures accountability for teachers. So if you get if you get low grade, so there will be a comparison. So if you get a low score in the test, so the teacher will be accountable. So the teacher will hold accountability of the student's achievement. So they will question if the teacher did her or his responsibility in teaching the student. Or it could be if the teacher use a suitable teaching methods or teaching approach. So the teacher will hold accountability. So the teacher will be the one to question. So if you take a standardized test, you should do your best so that you will have a good grade, or you will have a high score, so that you will get into the university, or you will have a high grade in standardized test. In that way, the teacher also will receive compliments. So the teacher will have will receive compliments that he or she uses a teaching approach that is suitable for the student. So it is very important, Jude, that a teacher should teach the student carefully and properly, so that the knowledge of a student will be used during the test. Third, are important because they are excellent objective indicators of student performance. So standardized tests are very important. Why? Because it will determine the student's performance. So whether there is a progress or improvement in the student's performance or the ability of the student. So the indicators will know if what or where that a student excel in this field, or it will measure the students' performance. So they will have an idea or knowledge if the students excel. Standardized test, it ensures objectivity because professionals familiar with the skills necessary to meet state standard write them. So it is not made by just a normal person, but it is made by the professionals. So di lang na siya tumo-tumo, guys, but it is made by the professionals who are familiar with the skills necessary in the test. So di lang na siya gama-gama lang na siya, but it is made by the professionals. The next is the types of standardized tests. So there are five types of standardized tests. First is the achievement test. Second is the international comparison test, the aptitude test, the psychological test, and the last one is the admission test, college admission test. So when we say achievement tests, are designed to measure the knowledge and skills students learn in a school, or to determine the academic progress they have made over a period of time. So achievement tests measures the knowledge of the student. So it will test whether the students or this will determine if the students excel, or there is a progress in the academic journey of a student. So this is very important also to know that achievement test is a tool to measure, or it is the instrument to measure. We will have the knowledge where the students excel. So importante kay siya, guys, kay we will know if nabay progress of na or nabay improvement ang student. So whether there is a knowledge and skills students learn in a school na taloy. So when we say achievement tests are designed to measure the knowledge and skills students learn in school, or to determine the academic progress they have made over a period of time. So achievement test is very important because it will measure the knowledge and skills that a student possess. So it will determine if there is an improvement or progress in the academic journey of a student, or what are the lessons they have learned in a school, or what are their knowledge that they gain during their academic journey over that they made, or the progress they have made over a period of time. So the test may also use to evaluate the effectiveness of school and teacher. So it will also test if, or the test is used to evaluate or assess if um, a teacher is effective or the school is effective, if they have taught the children or the students carefully, if the teaching approach or the teaching method they use is suitable or effective. So it will test or evaluate the effectiveness of the school and the teacher. If the quality of a teacher has been used, or what are the teaching methods, the teaching approach. So when we say aptitude test, it is the natural ability or skill of a student. So aptitude test, it predicts a student's ability to succeed in intellectual or physical endeavor. So when we say intellectual, it is the ability to think, the ability of the student to think, the way they give reasoning, the ability they possessed, or the way they resolve a problem, or the way they respond or analyze a situation. So aptitude test is very important because it will test the natural ability or skills or motor coordination or physical endeavor of a student. Next is the college admission test, are used in the process of deciding which student will be admitting to a collegiate program. So college admission test is very important. Why? Because this will serve as the path, or this will serve an instrument to where you wanna be. So guys, if you take a admission test, college admission test, you should do your best so that you will be given a chance to choose your desired program. So guys, if you get a low grade or low score in admission test, then you will go to a program wherein um, there's no need to have a board exam. But if you have, or if you get high grade in a college admission test, you have the privilege, you have the chance, the opportunity to choose your desired program. So college admission test is very important, like what I've said a while ago, that it will be the instrument to where you want to go. So you have to do your best, you have to review so that you will have a high grade and you will be given the chance to choose your desired program. Next one is the international comparison test, are administered periodically to representative samples of students in a number of countries. So I think the best example for this is the PISA, or also known as a Program International Students Assessment. So this measures the knowledge and skill of a 15-year-old students in reading, science, and mathematics. The next one is the psychological test. So when we say psychological tests, including IQ tests, are used to measure a person's cognitive abilities and mental, emotional, developmental, and social characteristics. Trained professionals such as school psychologists typically administer the test, which may require students to perform a series of tasks or solve a set of problems. So when we say psychological test, it will test the ability of the person to think, their cognitive abilities, and will also test their mental state, whether or not they have a peace of mind, if their mental is capable, their emotional, um, their development, and their social characteristic. And the one who made the psychological test are those professionals, um, the school psychologist. In constructing a standardized test, there are some steps that we need to follow so that we will have a accurate, appropriate, and a effective test. So there are four steps. First one is the planning. So before we make a standardized test, we should plan. After that, we will prepare the test. What will be the content of the test, trying out the test. So we need to have a dry run for us to know if the tests are appropriate or suitable for the students. So first we will try the test before we will give it to the students. Then after that, we will evaluate the test. We will assess whether the test is ready, if the test is good, if it is appropriate. Then we will also know if there will be changes. We need to change this one because it is not appropriate, and we will change this one because it is beyond the content, or it is not related or connected to the students performance. So we will going to assess, so evaluate. We will going to evaluate. Then after that, if the test is good, if it follows the steps, then we will going to give it to the takers. It is ready. When it is ready. Now, we will tackle naman about the cumulative and averaging system grading. Two types of a read. Okay guys, so there are two types of grading system. First is the cumulative grading system, and then the averaging grading system. So cumulative grading system, the grade of a student in a grading period equals his current grading period grade equals his current grading period grade, which is assumed to have the cumulative effects of the previous grading period. So when we say cumulative grading system, so they add up all the possible points you got and then the points you got. So medyo na siya pagka libog since na i-add pa nimo ang mga possible points, then i-add pa yun nimo ang yung points nga nakuha. So mara siya ang cumulative grading system. Methods. A cumulative grading grade is calculated for each assignment type, which are then averaged together based on each type's weights. So, calculated all of the assignments type. And then example, cumulative grade is based on 30% homework, 40% quizzes, and 30% exam. But each assignments within those categories is worth varying points. So, and then grades calculated, total the quality points for all terms, total the credit hours for all terms, divide the total quality points for all terms by the total credit hours for all items. The result is your cumulative GPA. Or so guys, when we say cumulative grading system, all the points, they add up all the possible points, and then the points you got. Next is the averaging grading system. So when we say averaging grading system, the grade of a student on a particular grading period equals the average of the grades obtained in the prior grading periods and the current grading period. So they add up all your scores and divide by how many there are. So kasi kadalasan ani is makita natin siya after sa isa ka period, like first quarter, kung pilay mo average all throughout the quarter, pilay mo mga points nga nakuha, ano imong grades nga nakuha, ilan ang i-add tanan. Like for example, sa imong English is nakay 90 points, sa imong science 90 points, sa imong other na mga subject is 90 points. So i-add na nila tanan, and then i-divide og pila ka box subject. Then kung ang pila ang result ana mo na siya ang average. So how to average the grades. So the average of a set of numbers is simply the sum of the numbers divided by the total numbers of value in the set. So like what I've said a while ago, i-add na ng mga grades or ang scores, and then i-divide mo kung pila ka buok. And kung pila ang result ana, mao na siya ang imong average. So next is the DepEd Order number 8 series of 2015. It states that April 1, 2015, DepEd Order 8, Series of 2015, Policy Guidelines on Classroom Assessments for the K-12 basic education program. So classroom assessment. Assessment is a process that is used to keep track of learners' progress in the relation to learning standards and in the development of 21st century skills. To promote self-reflection and personal accountability among students about their own learning and to provide basis for the profiling of students' performance on the learning competencies and the standards of the curriculum. So assessment is the process that is used to keep track of the learner's progress. So, assessment is the isa ka proseso which imo ang i-track nimo kung naabay progress, kung naabay improvement ang isa ka learner. So in a classroom setting, tanaw nimo if ang imong mga estudyante is naba sila progress, kanang naba improvement sa ilang performance, ang ilang knowledge, naadan ba? Like for example, kanang sa atong kwan, while mag-klase ta, mag-ask ta about sa past lesson. So, tira pa lang makita na to if nabadid sila na dumduman sa last na lesson. So, makaingon ta nga, naagit sila madumduman kung makatubag sila. But if wala, so meaning matrace na to nga, ma-conclude na to nga, wala dito sila nasabtan. Maybe wala sila nasabtan sa last na to nga, sa past na to, previous nga lesson. So therefore, aning classroom assessment, atong i-track atong learners' improvement or progress kung naaba. Then, if naba sila development, since we are in the 21st centuries, we're in, dagan na kayo itong mga advanced mga technology, so dagan na po ng mga skills. So, tanaw na to if kanang, actually, there are multiple intelligences of a student. So, tanaw na to if nabay development, like for example, sa iyang bodily kinesthetic. O, tanaw na to if naba improvement daw yung physical endeavor, yung motor coordination, if nabay improvement ang iyang logical and mathematical thinking, if nag-improve ba ang yung critical thinking, if naba improvement. So ani nga pamaagi ma-assess nato if nabay changes ang atong mga estudyante or wala. Then kung if wala, so natay mga maka-make tag adjustment so that maka-cope or maka-apas ang atong mga estudyante sa mga kailangan niya tun-an. Next is there are two types of classroom assessment, namely formative and summative assessment. So when we say formative assessment, it is recorded but not graded. Like for example, ang mga pre-test, to test lang if nabay na-learn ng atong estudyante about sa ato ang topic. So, formative assessment, it may be seen as assessment for learning, so teachers can make adjustments. So, like what I've said a while ago, if nabay mga, if kanang, ang results sa mga quizzes or sa oral or unsa pa na dira mga test, ang atong estudyante gamay maka-make tag-adjustment. So, siguro atong i-change ang atong teaching approach so that mas maka-learn pa or mas ingalisod og sabot ang atong estudyante sa atong mga methods nga gigamit. So, manapat tayo maka-make tag-adjustment, so changes in order for the student to learn. So, maka-make tag-adjustments sa atong mga instructions. According to the UNESCO Program on Teaching and Learning for Sustainable Future, formative assessment refers to the ongoing forms of assessment that are closely linked to the learning process. So, ang formative assessment is to test or to assess whether ang ato estudyante is na-learn sa ato alang topic for today. Take note nga ang formative assessment is to test lang kung naabay na-learn ng atong estudyante sa atong topic today. So like for example, magbatuhan na yung mga questions so that ang atong classroom is interactive. So, mag-ask kag questions, then mo answer ang estudyante. And in that way, makakuan ka, makatrack ka if nabay na learning mo estudyante. If wala, maka-make kag adjustment, changes, or mag-teach kanila og balik pa ka na imong manumanuhon yun so that mas maka-learn ang estudyante. Imo ang like for example, ani nga part kay naglisod sila, mobalik mo ana nga part para tudluan kung asa sila galisod. Kay kita mga kay ang mga teachers o mga teachers pohon kay ang atong buhaton is to facilitate and to guide our students para mas maka-learn sila. Ikaduha number 2 is the summative assessment. So when we say summative assessment, this is graded and recorded. This form of assessment usually occurs toward the end of the period of learning in order to describe the standard reached by the learner. So as formative assessment can be seen or can be used or assess the students after sa isa ka period. Like for example, sa first quarter, summative assessment is pwede ba ka magama baka quiz or exams rather. Exams. So quarterly exams nimo so that makita nimo dito kay all topics are in that exam naman. So makita nimo dito matrace nimo if nabay na learn ng imong estudyante all throughout that period or the quarter. So summative assessment is to assess whether the students learn all throughout the quarter. What is assessed in the classroom? Assessment in the classroom is aimed at helping students perform well in relation to the learning standards. Learning standards comprise content standards, performance standard, and learning competencies that are outlined in the curriculum. So assessment in the classroom is to help students perform well in relation to learning standard. So assessment is to assess the students, to help the students learn, to help the students perform. So, nahimo siyang instrument para ma-assess ang mga estudyante. Instrument para i-assess or to help the student learn. In this way, maka-learn ang ating estudyante and maka-perform well sila. So, first is the content standard. Saan man ang content standard? What is the content standard? From the word content, sulod, nilalaman. Sulod sa imuang exam bakaha, test bakaha. So, identify and set the essential knowledge and understanding that should be learned. So, content standard is the knowledge or understanding that should be learned. Content, nilalaman that should be learned by the students. So, mauni siya ang content. Like for example, sa content sa isa ka lesson is about how to write an essays. So, tanan na nang nilalaman how to write, what is the procedures, what are the steps should be learned by the students. In that way, maka-learn ng ato mga estudyante. So, that is very important that students must or should learn this content. Para mas masabtan niya. In that way, maka-gain siyang knowledge o understanding. They cover a specified scope of sequential topics within each learning strand, domain, theme, or component. Content standard answer the question, what should the learners know? But the content, what should the learner know? Usa may kinahanglan sa maibaw-an sa itong estudyante. Muna siya ang nasa content. Usa ang mga nilalaman na need nato i-discuss sa itong estudyante para masabtan. Next is the performance standard. From the word performance, it is the abilities and the skills of the learners are expected to demonstrate into the content, the standard, and integration of 21st century skills. The integration of knowledge, understanding, and skills is expressed through creation, innovation, and adding value to products, performance during independent work, or in collaboration with others. So when we say performance standard, it is the ability of students or skills of the students to demonstrate the content. Like for example, ang atong content is about essays. So performance standard, yan ang i-apply. I-apply sa to estudyante ang yang na-learn sa content. Kung sa yang na-learn, whether in independent work ba na siya or in collaboration with others. So, dira na to ma-test if effective ba ang atong content, kung natudluan man atong tarong atong mga estudyante once nga i-apply niya, if na-follow ba niya ang mga procedures or mga steps or katoy mo mga process nga imong gitudlo niya. So dira nato makita by how a students demonstrate the content. Or may for example is kanang situational, maghatag ang mga situational nga task. Makita na related ra po sa imong topic ha. So makita nimo na by how a students demonstrate kay i-demonstrate man na nila kung unsay lang nasabtan. So dili nimo makita nga bagay na learn ang imong estudyante pag effective ang ilang pag-demonstrate or sakto ba lang na demonstrate. Performance standard, answer the following question. First, what can learners do with what they know? So, dira mo makita, unsa kay mga, unsay mabuhat sa estudyante sa ilang may baw-an. Unsa nila, i-apply ba nila? Unsa na pag-apply silang kagalingan ang ilang naibaw-an? How will must learners do their work? Unsaon man pag-apply or unsa ka maayo or unsa ka effective or unsa ka what do we call this one? Unsa ka maayo, unsa ka tarong, unsa ka appropriate or accurate ba ang na-learn or buhaton sa estudyante? How will the learners use their learning or understanding in different situations? How the learners apply their learning or understanding in real-life context? What tools and measures? How the learners apply their learning or understanding in real-life context? What tools and measures should learners use to demonstrate what they know? So these are the questions that need to be isaalang-alang when we make a question. In performance standard, these are the questions that kailangan isaalang-alang to make it effective and to make it accurate. Next is the learning competencies. Learning competencies mo na siyang pinaka-una. Or learning competencies refers to the knowledge and understanding, skills, and attitudes that students need to demonstrate in every lesson and or learning activities. So, learning competencies is the knowledge that a learner should obtain or ang kailangan matamo ng isang estudyante. Ang skills nga kailangan niya mabuhat. Ang objectives nga kailangan niya mabuhat. So, muna siya ang pinakauna. Muna siya ang pinaka-main. Kay mamanay, himuong basis sa mga teachers if naka-learn na ang iyang estudyante once ma-demonstrate or ma-apply na niya ang learning competencies or mabuhat na niya. Concept development, the learning standard in a curriculum reflect progressions of concept development, the cognitive process dimension adapted from Anderson and Catwall 2001 may be a good way to operationalize these progressions. It provides a scheme for classifying educational goals, objectives, and standards. It also defines a broad range of cognitive processes from basic to complex as follows: remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So when we say remembering, it is how the student recall the information. Understanding, how the learners construct their own meaning from oral, or how the students understand the topic. It could be classify, interpret, like asking them what is their insights or thoughts about that specific topic. Applying is how the learners apply the topic, how they demonstrate the topic. Analyzing is how the how the students analyze and how they give reasoning, or it could be how they determine how they relate to one another. It could be differentiate, distinguish, compare. So in that way, mahasa ang the learner can make judgments or justify decisions. It is how the student evaluate or assess, how they make judgment. They can make judgments. Creating, how students create and like for example, Um, creating how a learner can create based on what they've learned. It could be create a new product or point of view. It could be design what they learn, or if their topic is all about designs. That makamake na siya og iyaang own. Standardized test, it is the measurement of a student's ability, natural skills, natural abilities, or the student's performance. That's all. Thank you very much, and I hope you've learned from my discussion. Thank you.